Erotic thrillers were relatively popular in the 90s, thanks perhaps to Paul Verhoeven's Basic Instincts, but aside from the Hollywood offerings, there were also plenty of exploitation offerings as well, and some of them starred Shannon Wiry. She's not in this one. Actually, there's some debate on the topic on whether or not this counts as just another 90s erotic thriller, or if this qualifies as a true Italian Giallo film. And since I'm something of an expert on this matter, I'll give you what I think. I don't give a shit. Welcome to Exploitation Reviews, and me, Rob. Today I'm taking a look at The Washing Machine from Italian filmmaker Ruggero Deodato. Us exploitation fans know that name. He's something of a legend. I mean, what else can you say about the guy who was the assistant director on Django? Here, though, we're not in one of Sergio Corbucci's muddy westerns. We're in Budapest, and a hot woman is having an argument with her boyfriend. It seems old Yuri bought her a bracelet with the wrong name on it, and so naturally the woman, her name is Vita by the way, she thinks that he has a side chick. Classic mistake, Yuri. Yuri insists that it wasn't his mistake, but it was the jeweler's mistake, but Vita can see through that, and she's still pissed. But eventually the two find themselves in front of a refrigerator and cool down. And then they heat back up. While the pair are making up, they are being watched by another woman who's sitting on the stairs. And this stairs girl starts playing her triangle. That's not a euphemism, it's an actual triangle. Maybe because of the distracting triangle playing, Vita looks down and sees the bracelet and is once again angry and kicks Yuri out. What was with that triangle anyway? I have no idea, but don't worry, this movie's about to get a lot weirder. Anyway, later that night, Triangle Girl, her name in the film is Ludmilla, by the way, she makes her way downstairs after hearing some noise, and then she investigates the washing machine because she sees it's dripping, and then she finds a dead body inside. It's Yuri. He's been chopped up and stuffed inside there. And here's where the film starts to get really weird. I mean, like, way weirder than that triangle thing. There are three women in the house, two we've met already, Vita and Ludmilla. There's a third one too, and the three of them call the police, and the inspector and his partner show up, but when they search the house, they find that there is nobody and the washing machine is completely clean. What? The first theory is that Ludmilla, that was the triangle girl, she had some sort of drunken hallucination. And the cops are happy enough with that explanation, but Vita insists that Ludmilla is not an alcoholic, and Ludmilla, of course, denies that as well. But regardless, no body, no case, as far as the police are concerned, so they take off. But the women aren't ready to let this go because Yuri is in fact missing, so they keep hounding the inspector, trying to get him to look into this case. Okay, and from here on out, here's how the movie's going to go. Each sister will try to entice the inspector to look into the case and will tell him her version of what happened that night. And normally this enticing him into looking the case revolves around getting naked and doing naked stuff. It's an erotic thriller. But one of the cool things is we, the audience, were never quite sure which version of the story is the real one, if any version is the real one, and it's kind of fun watching it play out. By the end, everything will come together and make some sort of sense, but I'm not going to tell you about the end. Instead, let's take a look at some of those enticing scenes, as an erotic thriller, that's why we're here, right? I mean, or do you really care about the story? Okay, so the first sister to get her hands on the inspector is Vita. We find out she's actually a working girl, but what she does to the inspector is handcuff him to a railing and then have herself a little railing. And this is one of those scenes that really would not work in a gender-swapped version of this movie. I mean, can you imagine if there was like a female detective and a male working guy handcuffed her to the stairs and then had his way with her? We have a word for that. It's not a pretty word. But here it's fine. The next sister, Ludmilla, that was the triangle girl, she shows up to his house with a pair of cymbals, so I guess now she's a cymbals girl, and she tries to seduce him, but, it doesn't quite work out. She does leave behind her underwear, though. Yeah, maybe the inspector's girlfriend will find them. Yeah, but don't worry about her not going all the way with the inspector. She does go all the way with Yuri, the guy from the very beginning who was maybe in the washing machine, so that's a nice hot scene with her. It plays out as some sort of flashback / alternate version of the night's events, but it doesn't matter. She's smoking hot. The last sister, her name's Maria. She works as a caretaker for the blind, and in one of the movie's kinkiest scenes, she has her group of blind people in a kind of like a touching museum, and they're the only ones in there. And then, she kind of seduces the inspector right in front of all these blind people, but of course, they can't see her. They're calling out, but, they're being quiet and, trying to get out of the way of the blind fingers coming towards them. Pretty cool. Pretty kinky. Or maybe it's not kinky. I mean, it's not really voyeurism if people can't see you, right? I don't know. But apparently Maria didn't get enough of the inspector in the museum, and a few scenes later in the movie, she seduces him backstage at an orchestra rehearsal. Pretty cool. Like, backstage of the orchestra is a pole, and she does a pole dance, and then she dances on the inspector's pole. Pretty hot. But that's enough out of me as far as plot and sexiness is concerned. Let's talk some highlights. Well, highlight number one is the sexiness. This movie's pretty hot, which is of course helped by the fact that the women in this movie are super hot. And the situations are creative enough. I mean, you've got that pole dance, you've got the museum scene with the blind people, you've got your sister playing a triangle, and you've got some handcuffs on the stairs. Lots of interesting things to choose from here. Is this the hottest erotic thriller that I've seen? Well, no, but it's way hotter than Basic Instinct. Beyond the women and the sexiness of the movie, the story here is actually pretty interesting. I really like movies that are told from multiple perspectives, and then we have to figure out sort of which version is the real one. It's a lot of fun watching those kinds of movies. It keeps you entertained the whole time through. Obviously, this movie isn't as well put together or as smart as something like Rashomon, but for an erotic thriller, pretty cool. As a final highlight, there is one pretty gory scene, which is quite nice. Obviously, I can't show it to you, but it is quite nice. But still, I wouldn't say the movie's perfect. Like a woman enjoying a good spin cycle, it has some shortcomings. Well, I guess the name's pretty stupid. I mean, The Washing Machine? Who's gonna watch a movie called The Washing Machine? I had no idea what to expect when I got this thing. I just saw Ruggero Deodato, and that was good enough for me. It was not at all what I expected. And yeah, it's because that title is just so dumb. I mean, an exploitation director should know better. I mean, you can't call a movie The Washing Machine. I mean, this movie should have been called Murder Sisters, or Three Women for the Inspector, or, something cool. There are some story elements here that don't really make a lot of sense, depending on how persnickety you want to be with these kinds of things. I mean, I don't want to get into spoilers, but generally speaking, police inspectors or detectives who work in homicide don't also work in vice. But the plot of this movie kind of requires that to be the case. So, if you're overly concerned about how police departments are put together, that might bother you. And I suppose if I'm being honest, I guess the acting isn't great. I mean, it's not distractingly bad, but it's also not great. In fact, the director, Ruggero Deodato, he didn't really like this movie very much. And the reason he didn't like it very much is because he thought it needed well-known actors. I don't know, but well-known actors are also kind of a risk. They're less likely to get naked. If I have to choose, well, you know what I'm going to choose. For what it is, though, I can't complain too much. It's only 90 minutes long, and it's interesting enough on the story level to be entertaining all the way through. And if you're not entertained all the way through on that level, about every 10 minutes or so, somebody's getting naked. So really, there are worse ways to spend 90 minutes.